Could we be getting Crash and Spyro every year? Let's find out! What's up guys, Canadian Guy here, and I am back with a video talking about something that is very exciting. So in 2016, we heard the announcement from PlayStation that Crash Bandicoot would be coming back in all of his remastered glory from his original trilogy. A year later, he was released into the world and was met with some really great reception overall. Then, this is when I started YouTubing seriously and started talking about Spyro. So a year later in 2018, we then got our beautiful purple boy back in his 4K remade Unreal glory. But now what? What are the former PlayStation platforming icons' next move? Well, I have a theory with some evidence to back it up that might be quite exciting for all of you. So, we knew that Crash Bandicoot was the last game made in the Alchemy engine. This was an engine used by both Toys for Bob and Vicarious Visions in their games. Yes, even in Skylanders. But then it was announced that Crash would be the last game in this engine. So when Spyro was announced, it was said that it was being made in the Unreal 4 engine. And boy was it the right choice. This game looks absolutely beautiful and was the perfect choice of engine for the franchise. But what does this have to do with anything? Well, you guys know the saying of this channel that I have said over and over and over again till I am blue in the face. Whatever happens to Crash happens to Spyro. However, it would seem that in the sense, the saying has been changed to whatever happens to Spyro also happens to Crash. Confused? Let me explain. Vicarious Visions has a job application for a job at their studios. That job is a rigger for a certain development kit. Can you guess what that is? The Unreal Engine 4. Now I did a quick cross-reference with other Activision IPs, and the only one that came up as of recently for using the Unreal Engine was, you guessed it, Spyro. On top of all that, Vicarious Visions helped Toys for Bob with the production of Spyro as evidenced by the credits. If they helped with Spyro, then they had to know how to use the Unreal Engine. Yet after Spyro has been released and out of the way, they are still looking for more people to work in the Unreal Engine. Why would that be? Also, if you were to go through the job application, then you would see that the only engine that is mentioned in the whole thing that they say would really catch their eye is knowledge in the Unreal Engine. No other engines mentioned. The only answer is that obviously the next project that they are working on is being made in the Unreal Engine. But this is not the only interesting fact. If we were to look at Toys for Bob, they once again have a job application looking for more people with knowledge in the Unreal Engine. Spyro is out already. Why are they hiring more people for the Unreal Engine? So here's the thing. Back when I had made a prediction that if Toys for Bob had helped Vicarious Visions with Crash in the Insane trilogy, then it would be likely that Vicarious Visions would also help Toys for Bob with Spyro. And also, not just that, they both shared the Alchemy engine when they were both working on Skylanders. And lo and behold, both companies worked on both titles. My prediction went on to say that in the past, Vicarious Visions and Toys for Bob tag team on the Skylanders franchise so that a game could be released on every year. As I said, the same engine, but for each company. I predicted that this could happen with both Spyro and Crash, where both companies help each other out with Crash and Spyro so that IPs could be released every other year, almost ping-ponging off each other. We had Crash in 2017, then Spyro in 2018. And there's also evidence of Crash coming in 2019. I talked about this evidence in a previous video before as well. And one of the biggest hints of that whole video was there was a magazine called GBI that leaked way back when, where they said a new Crash game would be released in 2019, along with saying that there would be a Switch and PC port before it was ever confirmed. Now, some of you might be thinking that 2 years is awfully quick to make a new Crash game. Well, according to sources, Crash Bandicoot N. Sane Trilogy was made in about 18 months. So what would happen if they were given 2 years with an even bigger team on a better engine? Well, Vicarious Visions had recently expanded their company and their team for future projects by a large margin, which I find quite interesting. But what is the giant point that I'm trying to get to here? Activision is doubling down on these nostalgic platformers and want to bring them back in full swing. So much that they want to likely make a new game in each franchise every year. Now, something that a good friend of the channel, Spyro Universe, had said over on Twitter, go check him out, was that Activision likes to release a kid-friendly game at least once per year to the consoles. I double checked and he's right, every year there's a child-friendly game. Now with Skylanders pretty much ending, Activision doesn't have any other IPs that are considered kid-friendly other than Spyro and Crash. So that would mean that either a Crash or Spyro game would have to release every year to follow this pattern, as long as they don't buy or make any other child-friendly IPs for console. One of the things that I thought was interesting as well is that if you were to look at the credits for the Spyro Reignited trilogy, of course you can see that Vicarious Visions was heavily credited in the game. But there was another team that was very interesting. Sanzaru Games was credited for being the Spyro 3 team. So the only thing that we can assume here is that Sanzaru was heavily involved with the third game. How much involvement is obviously not public information, but my question is, why? This was something that always eluded me. Not the fact that Toys for Bob needed help, because the Spyro games are huge and hefty, especially the third game. It would make sense that they would need help to complete the game in the time frame that Activision felt was right. But you see, Activision has a giant corporation with many different game companies under their belt. Why would they hire out an entirely new company, not under the banner, to work on the third game? In the credits, there are many Activision companies helping, like the before mentioned Vicarious Visions, but also Beanox and even Sledgehammer Games, who was Bungie. So why Sanzaru? Why not bring their trusted partner Vicarious Visions in like they did for Crash and all the other Skylander games? Why didn't they just tag team that way? Well, I have a bit of a theory. As I said, if the games were to ping pong back and forth between each other, then that would mean that if Crash were to get a 2019 release, that would mean Vicarious Visions would need to get on board with the game as soon as possible to get it done on time after the Insane Trilogy. That would also mean that they would need to get help to get the project done on time for the before mentioned concept that Activision would be releasing a new family-oriented console game every year. So the Reignited trilogy came out at a discounted price of $40 USD. So that would mean that Activision would be making less profits on this game. However, the theorized Crash game would be by Vicarious Visions and would assumed to be the industry standard price of $60 USD. So that would mean that the new Crash game is likely valued higher than the Reignited trilogy because of the higher chances of revenue. So they hired on Sanzaru so that they could get Toys for Bob off the project faster so that they could help out with the new Crash Bandicoot project. As, like I said, the Crash project would be valued more than the Reignited trilogy in terms of profit. But this also explains something else, the length of the Reignited trilogy's delay. See, there is something I want to briefly talk about, and that is in the second and third games, it sometimes feels like it needed a little bit more love, as there are reports of minor glitches, bugs, and frame drops in those games. So some have been saying that the delay should have been longer, but maybe it couldn't be longer because they were scheduled to help out Vicarious Visions with the new Crash Bandicoot project. And if they were to take any more time, they would cause delays on that project. which is valued higher in terms of revenue and may miss the Christmas season that a lot of games want to aim for, as well as hitting that one family-friendly game that Activision likes to get out once per year. And if any more major time was given to the Reignited trilogy, they may have missed that mark. That doesn't mean that Toys for Bob won't patch these little issues and bugs over time, but they might have a smaller team devoted to these bugs and issues, while the larger team tackles Crash Bandicoot with Vicarious Visions. Another detail I noticed was that Spyro Year of the Dragon was released during the Year of the Dragon in the Chinese calendar. The Platinum achievement for the third game in the Reignited trilogy, however, says Party Like It's 2024, which ironically is the next Year of the Dragon. But that doesn't really mean anything, right? Right? Well, hold on to that piece of info. Let's put everything together and wrap this video up. Spyro and Crash sequels are currently in the works by their respective new creators, Vicarious Visions and Toys for Bob. Vicarious will lead the Crash team with Toys for Bob assisting them, and Toys for Bob will lead the Spyro team with Vicarious Visions also assisting them. They will both run on the Unreal Engine. As we know, the Alchemy engine has been retired from use. They will release year to year and will quite literally ping pong off each other. Crash will come out in 2019, likely starting a brand new trilogy. Then Spyro will make his return again in 2020, also beginning his. Crash will then come out with the sequel to the first new game in 2021. Then Spyro with his in 2022. Finally, Crash will release the final game of this new trilogy in 2023. And then Spyro will release his final game in this new trilogy in 2024, which once again is the Year of the Dragon, paralleling with the fact that the original trilogy's Spyro third and final installment was during the Year of the Dragon, bringing it all back together in a full circle. Now, this is simply my theory, but what are your thoughts? Comment below and let me know. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching. Cue the extra. Whee!